Chapter 3. No Rooms for Visitors. It seemed impossible that they should sit every day so unfriendly and silent. I thought if I had caused the cloud, it was my duty to try to drive it away. Many could not imagine living in happiness so far from society, I began. But you, Mr. Heathcliff, with your wife and family. My wife is no longer alive, sir. I realized that I had made a mistake. I looked at the young man. Mrs. Heathcliff is my daughter-in-law, as he spoke. Heathcliff turned a peculiar look of hate in her direction. And this young man is not my son. My son is that. The youth became red in the face. My name is Hareton Earnshaw, he said roughly, and I advise you to respect it. He fixed his eye on me in a threatening manner. I began to feel very much out of place in this strange family circle, and I determined to be cautious in risking my presence beneath its roof a third time. When the business of eating was over, I approached the window. Dark night was coming on, and sky and hills were hidden from sight by the wild turning movement of wind and snow. I don't think it possible for me to get home now without a guide, I said. Hareton, drive those dozen sheep into shelter. They'll be covered if left out all night, said Heathcliff, rising. What must I do? I continued. There was no reply, and looking around, I saw only Joseph bringing in the dog's food and Mrs. Heathcliff leaning over the fire. Mrs. Heathcliff, I said earnestly, you must excuse me for troubling you. Do you point out some landmarks by which I may know my way home? Take the road that you came by, she answered, settling herself in a chair with a book and a candle. I can't show you the way. They wouldn't let me go beyond the garden wall. Are there no boys at the farm? No, there are only Heathcliff, Earnshaw, Zillah, Joseph, and myself. I hope this will be a lesson to you, to make no more foolish journeys on these hills, cried the voice of Heathcliff from the kitchen. As for staying here, I don't keep rooms for visitors. You must share a bed with Hareton or Joseph. I can sleep on a chair in this room. No, a stranger is a stranger, whether he be rich or poor. It will not suit me to have anyone wandering around this place when I'm not on guard. With this insult, my patience was at the end. I pushed past him into the yard. It was so dark I could not see the way out. Joseph was milking the cows by the light of a lamp. I sighed and, calling that I would send him back the next day, rushed to the nearest gate. Master, master, he is stealing the lamb, shouted the old man. Hold him, dogs, hold him. Two hairy animals sprang at my throat, bringing me to the ground and putting out the light, while rude laughter from Heathcliff and Hareton increased the force of my fury and humiliation. There I was forced to lie till they called the dogs off. The violence of my anger started a bleeding of the nose. Heathcliff continued to laugh, and I continued to scold. At last Zillah, the weak woman servant, came out to see what was happening. Are we going to murder people right on our doorstep? Look at that poor young gentleman. He can hardly breathe. Come in, and I'll cure that. With these words, she suddenly threw some ashy water down my neck and put me into the kitchen. I felt sick and faint. Heathcliff told Zillah to give me a glass of something strong to drink, and which I seemed a little better. Then I allowed her to lead me to bed.